Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Colleen and let's talk about Shakespeare. It has been a lifelong goal of mine to read all of Shakespeare's plays. Maybe all of his sonnets, but definitely all of his plays. And it's something I decided upon when I was in college and an English literature major and really enjoying all the Shakespeare I read in class. So I thought to myself, wouldn't it be cool if over the course of my life I read all of Shakespeare? Fast forward like 15 years, and I've definitely fallen off the wagon of reading Shakespeare for fun and decided that this year I'm going to get back on that horse. Now, when I originally came up with the plan to use 2022 as a jumping off point to get back into reading Shakespeare regularly, I thought to myself, I'm going to read 12 plays in 2022. And then I thought to myself, that's going to make me hate Shakespeare. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to read 5. I figured that's enough that I can take a bunch of months off that I want to if I'm just not feeling the Shakespeare vibes at certain points. Also, it would be really hard for me to try to sneak a Shakespeare play in like next November and December. So 5 sounds like a good number. Now, before I tell you what 5 plays I'm going to read this year, first I will let you know the plays I've already read. I have this lovely complete Shakespeare that my favorite teacher from high school gave me as a graduation present. I also babysat for his children, so I had like a relationship with their family outside of just him being my English teacher. But I've held on to it. It used to have a dust jacket. It doesn't anymore. And I used it when I took my Shakespeare class in college, and anytime I had to read a Shakespeare play in college other than that. So the fun thing is some of my plays in here are very annotated with lots of stars and underlining in them. Here are the Shakespeare plays that I have already read. The Taming of the Shrew, Titus Andronicus, Midsummer Night's Dream, Romeo and Juliet, Richard II, Merchant of Venice, Henry IV, Hamlet, Twelfth Night, Measure for Measure, Othello, King Lear, Macbeth, Antony and Cleopatra, and The Tempest. Now, several of these I've read more than once because, as you know, I've said this in my other videos I've done about classics. If you major in literature in college after going to a very classics-heavy high school, you tend to have a little overlap. So I've read The Tempest 3 times, and it's my least favorite Shakespeare play. I've read Romeo and Juliet 2 or 3 times. I've read Macbeth twice. I think I've read Othello twice. I know I've read King Lear twice. So there have been a few overlaps. Now, the plays that I have read for fun in here are Antony and Cleopatra, Measure for Measure, Titus Andronicus, and The Taming of the Shrew. So really not that many. I definitely have fallen off reading for fun. But that's all going to change in 2022. My top 3 personal Shakespeare plays, and these aren't necessarily the ones I feel like anyone should read first. I'll do a video about that later. Are Romeo and Juliet, because that is what introduced me to Shakespeare when the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes came out when I was 13 years old and ripe for that kind of movie to fall into a lifelong obsession with an author who's been dead for hundreds of years. So I really love Romeo and Juliet. And in my literature class in high school, I took AP Lit and we had to all memorize a monologue or a soliloquy and perform it in front of class. And I did the balcony scene and it was lovely. I don't remember it though. My next favorite is A Midsummer Night's Dream, which is probably my favorite to read. That's another one I've read more than once. I love the fairies. I love the love potion. I love Puck is probably my favorite character in all of Shakespeare. It's like beautiful. Also, when I was in high school, a movie version came out after I had read it, and it's like super 90s glittery. Michelle Pfeiffer plays the fairy queen, and Stanley Tucci plays Puck, I believe. But you should check that out if you're not familiar with it. It's super fun. And then to round out, my 3rd favorite Shakespeare play is Macbeth, because Lady Macbeth is the best villain of all time, and there are witches in it, and I love witches. So the 5 plays I'm going to read are a little comedy heavy, because I've definitely read more of the tragedies, and I didn't put any histories in here because the 2 histories I've read I really didn't enjoy, so we'll save those for next year, I guess, when I may be feeling a little bit more like back in the groove of reading Shakespeare. The first play I'm going to read is Julius Caesar. It's the only major tragedy I haven't read, and I'm actually kind of surprised I've never read it. There were kids in different classes in my high school who read Julius Caesar. When I read, I think, Othello, I think that was like the switch off, that my teacher really liked Othello, so we read Othello instead of Julius Caesar. I also really love Roman history, and even though I'm sure this is not like extremely historical account, I think I'll really enjoy reading that play. I'm not sure if I'm necessarily going to read it first, like in January and February, but I will definitely get to that one no matter what. The second Shakespeare play I'm planning to read is A Winter's Tale, which I'm very excited about reading, actually. When I was doing a little bit of research into the plays I hadn't read and deciding which ones I wanted to read this year, I found that Winter's Tale is called a problem play. The first part of the play is very psychological drama and sad and heavy, but then it ends sort of like a comedy, which sounds like my perfect play. I also don't think I've ever seen a movie version of this. I've definitely never seen it on stage, so I am looking forward to getting to know this play. Also, I really like the title, A Winter's Tale. I should probably read that one in winter. So the last 3 plays I'm planning to read this year are often grouped together, and I'm very surprised that I haven't read any of these 3 plays. I was like looking, thinking that I had read at least one of them, but apparently not. These are often grouped with Twelfth Night, and I know I read Twelfth Night twice, and I've seen the play, so maybe I was thinking one of the times I read one of these. The first is All's Well That Ends Well. It sounds very fun. It's about a woman and a man who get married, and then the woman decides her husband has to complete a list of tasks before she will acknowledge him as her husband. And that sounds like fun and like, you know, Shakespeare comedic gold. The next is As You Like It. And a few months ago, I did listen to a podcast about As You Like It, and I do think I'm going to really love the setting where like the characters are in the forest and they're all in hiding, but they're like falling in love at the same time. So I do think that I'm going to really like that one. I tend to like Shakespeare's plays that are when their characters are put in sort of strange settings, like Midsummer Night's Dream. They're in the forest. That one has more like magic in it though than this one, as far as I know. But I do think it'll be another fun read. And the last one I'm going to read is Much Ado About Nothing. This is the one I'm the most surprised I haven't read, because I feel like after Twelfth Night, Much Ado About Nothing is probably Shakespeare's next most famous comedy. I also need to read this because there are 2 film versions I really want to see. The one that came out, I think, in like 1992 that Denzel Washington and Keanu Reeves are in. I've heard that's phenomenal, but I really want to read the play before I see it. And the second is the one that Josh Whedon, however you say his last name, directed, which if you are an elder millennial or young Gen Xer like I am, you have always waited for Fred and Wesley to get their happily ever after if you watched Angel, and apparently they get it in this movie. So I need to read this play so I can see both of those movies and finally enjoy them. So those are the 5 Shakespeare plays I am planning to read in 2022. Julius Caesar, A Winter's Tale, All's Well That Ends Well, As You Like It, and Much Ado About Nothing. I don't think I'm going to stray from this path. It was pretty easy for me to pick the 5 that I really wanted to read. I do really want to read Love Labor's Lost as well, but I think I'll save that one for next year, or who knows, if I fly through these, which I won't, then maybe I will stick one more on at the end. I hope you enjoy the Shakespeare journey I'm going to go on this year, and maybe jump along with me. If one of the plays that I talked about is your favorite play of all time, please let me know, because I'd love to get like a big burst of you're going to enjoy this play before I start reading Shakespeare again. Have a wonderful afternoon. I hope you are in the middle of a great book, about to start a great book, or about to start writing a great book. See ya.